G'day YouTubers, thanks for joining us again on another walk and talk. Today I wanted to talk about censorship and writing and everything else that comes along with that. All I can say is this, guys, if you're a writer, it's noticeable. If you're a switched on reader, you can tell if a writer's in between trying to say something. Writing is about writing the truth, whether it be in fiction, whether it be in non-fiction, whether it be an essay, whether it be an article. It doesn't matter. It's got to have an element of truth. You can't censor yourself. You're not a real writer if you're censoring yourself. No matter the consequence, that's your profession, is to convey. Not to convey bullshit, not to convey government mantra, just to convey what you feel inside, what you feel to be the truth, no matter what your audience says. At the end of the day, you write for yourself. So my question to you is, why did you start writing? If you're going to self-censor for the big guy, why did you start writing? Because writing, to me, and when I learned it at university about journalism and media, it's about telling the truth. It's about holding the government accountable. It's about writing what you feel and what you know to be true, damn the consequences. So why aren't you doing it? Now, some of you are, granted, not many of you. A lot of you always have it in the back of your mind, if I write this, will I get censored? Well, big deal if you do. Isn't it more important to maintain your own integrity with your art? Isn't it more important to say what you feel and understand your emotions and try and convey them to the people you care about? I call bullshit on those that are censoring themselves. You're not real writers. You're not true to your art. You're certainly not true to humanity. All you're doing is propping up the big guy that in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, maybe even 2 months' time, will stomp on your head with their foot. That's the truth. You're propping up someone who doesn't care about you. Now, the reason I bring this up is that only in the last couple of weeks I realised that my books are shadow banned. Now, they're shadow banned because I wrote what I felt at the time in 2012, and now it doesn't agree with the narrative. Back then they were bestsellers. It's just a science fiction series, a dystopian series. But the fact remains that nearly everything I wrote about in those books in 2012 has happened. So I can only wonder if that's why they've been banned. Now, when I say banned, just pre-pandemic era, my first book in my series was blocked, and that was fine. I rewrote it, I subverted the algorithms. It took a long time, took a lot of hard work, a lot of hours, but I managed to get it back online. That's fine. I'm happy to play their game. That's what writers do. They're truthful. They hold things to account. But lately, my books are still on Amazon and other platforms. The other platforms work. It's Amazon that the links don't work. And when you bring up one book, or any of the books, and I've written several, the links don't, when you use them, they don't bring up the profile pictures. They sometimes don't actually link through to the actual page. You literally have to half the link, and it's trial and error. It really is trial and error. So I have noticed that. Now I really don't care. I'm not going to change the books anymore. In fact, I've added more to them that conveys the truth of what we're facing. And, just to give you an idea of what's in the books that they may be annoyed about is things like a civil war that happens in the US, where people of all nations flock to the US to fight for that last piece of freedom that humanity has against a army of elites, basically. Yes, there's sci-fi elements to it, which I deliberately introduced to try and suspend the fantasy, make it a bit lighter, I suppose. But everything in those books have come true. Short of electronic tattoos to surveil us with, but even the social credit scores that we're seeing now, and even the name and shames on billboards in China, where a person's walking by and surveillance identifies them and they haven't paid their electricity bill on time, and so they name them to the rest of the crowd around them. Yes, that does happen. They were in my books, and it seems like Western society's inching closer and closer to that. Now, the only other thing that I can think of is this whole Civil War thing. That's the last thing in the book that hasn't happened. And I feel like, especially in the United States, but other places as well, that maybe we're inching closer to that, especially on the southern border in the US. So I guess what I'm saying, guys, is no matter the consequence, you've got to write the truth. You've got to stick to it, and you've got to shout it from the rooftops. There's no negotiation on that fact. You became a writer for a reason. And you've got to remember what that reason is. So I call bullshit on those that are self-censoring just because. There's ways around it. It's more hard work. I'll tell you what, it's worth it. It's worth maintaining your integrity. It's worth being able to sleep at night. It's worth doing it just for the love of your art. Most importantly, though, it's worth it because writers, all the way back in history, way, way back, we fight for our right to be human.